say west of where the Forest Service Road turns in.
Yeah.
There's a flat down
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the first house he built. It was mostly a cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And we must have had a terribly wet winter. I know that the creeks had never been so high since. Something happened anyway that he woke up in the night and he could hear water slushing on the floor. And he jumped out of bed and lit lighting matches. That's all, and we didn't turn on a light.
No.
There was water 6 inches deep all over the floor. He had a boy. The boy was just a month younger than I am. And he grabbed him and got his wife, and they grabbed what clothes they could and he got out of that. The house went down the stream after they got out of it.
Is that right?
So he built that house on the hill. That was a big house for this country in those days.
Well, it must have been one of the first real houses.
One of the first houses, and there was another one built on Geddes, the same plan, under that big live oak tree where Weatherly's used to live.
Yeah.
That was Brown's. That was the other partner's house.
Oh, I see. Down back of where Weatherly's store is
Yes,
now.
Yeah.
That tree's still there, isn't it?
Huh?
That live oak is still there.
Oh, yeah, that live oak is still there. Well, I was going to tell you about my first recollection of North Fork. There was a man by the name of Hale, Bill Hale, had a log cabin right under that tree about where Weatherly's house is now, where that building is now. And I can remember him quite well. Well, I couldn't, it must have been four. I couldn't have been 5 because I think he died before I started school. And he had one of those zigzag rail fences around, and I don't know how he made a living. He must have some money when he got there. But if we'd see anybody coming, which wasn't very often, why, he'd go out and set up on this rail fence, you know. Of course, if you wouldn't buy anybody in those days and didn't stop and talk to you, it was an insult.
Yeah.
I can remember going by there. I don't know where we was going, but I can remember old man Hale so well, with his long white whiskers, and he liked to talk. That was North Fork. That was the only house there was in North Fork. Nobody else lived that tall. Just nothing.
That was the first.
We call it Hales.
Yeah.
We call it Hales. There's no North Fork. When Bartram started the post office, why, he named it North Fork.
But it was really at South Fork, wasn't it? The post office?
No.
No?
It wasn't anything but a shoemaker and a man that fixed shoes, played violin for the dances, and he was the village blacksmith. Lived at South Fork. That's all it was there.
And the post office in North Fork, what was the location of that?
Right where Bud's post office is.
Now?
Yes. Only it set more this way. That is, it faced more to the east. Post office, you know, kind of faces that way.
Yes.
Well, the old store and post office faced this way. They kind of faced where their mill was, their plant.
Uh-huh. And the plant was right
where the Forest Service Road turns in.
Yes.
Well, not where the gate is.
Yes.
Would be the starter of the mill, the plant.
Uh-huh.
You walked in on a kind of a platform, and there's where the saws and men worked.
And they used the water from the creek there, I suppose. They used the North Fork Creek water.
Yes, they had a ditch come out of the North Fork, and right up on top of the hill from the post office there.
Yeah.
That steep hill, a big tank, and then it run in a pipe and run the mill.
That's how it
was.
I see. Yeah. Oh, well, now I'm beginning to get the picture of how it was. So Hale had the first cabin.
Yeah, it was just Hale's. It wasn't any North Fork at all.
And then, what came after the post office then? He established that post office, you said 88?
Yes, that was in 88. The reason I know it was in 88, I was telling you about Bartram's boy being the same age.
Yeah.
Well, when I went to school, he wasn't here, but they came later on.
I see.
The next year, he went to school.
With you?
Yeah. So I was 6 and so was he, and he told me more about their house washing away.
Oh, yeah.
But he was old enough to realize what was going on. And he's still alive.
He
I
is.
could just get to see him.
Where
Yeah.
is he?
He lives in Fresno.
He does.
He used to come up and see me about every year, but I suppose his eyes must have went bad and he can't drive anymore.
I see.
And
What is he? Bartram? What?
Herbert Bartram.
Uh-huh.
Hayes, Doc Hayes,
Yes.
knows him quite well too.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he knows him
I
quite
know
well.
Doc. Yes. Well, and he has pretty good memory, though he probably didn't stay here very long then.
He left here he left here the same year we left in '96.
I see. Mm-hmm.
We a month or two apart. So North Fork then. North Fork went back to the old Hale days.
In 90.
The mill didn't run anymore. The company went broke, and North Fork was just as dead.
I see.
Just like being way out here on top of some of these mountains. I might live there.
There wasn't anybody living there. Were there some deserted cabins, I suppose?
Oh, yeah, a lot of deserted houses and cabins. Anybody could move into any of them wanted to. It didn't seem to belong to anybody. And
Squatters could be.
yeah, a fella started a store, a saloon, way up where Johnny Redmond lives, you know.
Yes, up there.
Yeah, started a store and sold liquor there too.
Uh-huh.
And then he after it sold out to one of the Ellises, Charlie Ellis.
Oh.
Bought that and
Did he run a store there?
oh yes, he run the store there for many years, and then he moved down, and he built a house right where Bud's post office is now.
Oh.
And they had to tear that out to build this new post office.
Right.
And he had a store there for a long time.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, I remember, it was Charlie Ellis, wasn't it, that moved way down
Yeah,
below?
lived way down there
all by
below
himself.
the fire station.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he had cattle. He quit the store and went into cattle business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope to get to talk someday to Bill Ellis, too. Did you know him through the years?
Yes, I know Bill quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Quite well.
Well, he,
I haven't seen him for quite a while. Oh, I did too. Seen him. He come in. Somebody told him I was in the barber shop here about a month ago, and he came in
oh, I see.
for just a minute. His Vito wanted to do something or go someplace, and he didn't have time to talk very long.
Uh-huh. Oh. Well, it's good to get together and talk about old times.
Yes.
That's right. Well, when you were working up here on the mountain, making shakes, where did you live then? Did you...
We moved. We didn't stay in one place very long. Maybe one
see.
season. Next season we had to go somewhere else and count finding timber, you know.
Uh-huh.
And up there, Roush's, when Mr. Roush's camp is,
Yeah.
we were there a couple summers.
Oh, I see.
And later on, when the shake making kind of, guess I was the only one making shakes here. Well, my main camp was at Fish Creek. You know, where the road crosses Fish Creek up there.
Yeah,
You've been
on the
there?
Mammoth Road.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been.
No, not the Mammoth Road, the upper road.
Oh, the upper road.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is an upper road.
Mm-hmm.
I was there several years. I built me a cabin and go back there every summer.
Yeah.
And when I go back and look there, of course, they've tore my cabin all out. I've logged over it since, you know, and the cabin's all gone. But when I get there, kind of seems like home, you know. I
Is
look
there?
at this there, look at the trees, what there is left of them.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't been up there. I can't get up there anymore. Can't drive anymore.
Well, when the weather gets good and we can get up there in the spring, maybe I can take you up there. I'd like to, and I'd like to have you show me.
That would just be fine.
I'd
I could show you a lot of things if I could have to think of them, you know.
Yeah. Well, we could go out 2 or 3 times, you know, and because, of course, I'm a newcomer, but I'm very much interested in what went on.
Yeah, you know where the old Peckinpah mill is?
Yeah.
Big sawdust pile out in the meadow.
Yeah.
And that was where Peckinpahs landed when they first came here.
Was that their first mill?
That was their first mill. Then they moved the mill over beyond Ellis Meadow. And they were there for 5 years and cut out all the timber, then moved back over there.
I see.
There were men, you know, I can't hardly imagine how people would come into a wilderness, but it had to be done. That's the way they got a country started.
Yeah.
It was men, hardy men, and they never made anything. They always come out little, but they built the roads for the rest of them to come.
Yeah. Oh.
And when those men, there were 7 of them, great big men, and most of them wore whiskers. And they, some way, they got up to the Walker place, you know, where
Yes.
Paul Walker's place is down
Yeah.
there now. And old Johnny Walker lived there. He always had team. He always had 4 or 6 horses he could drive. And in fact, he freighted on the road. So he bought them up. He bought the 7 big men and their packs. And the road then only went as far as you go. The wagon is what they call S-turn. Go up past the mission and that new road is that was there. So as far as you get with the wagon, the rest of it had been wagons up there, but the road had all gone and washed out. Those men jumped out. I've heard old Johnny Walker tell it. Jumped out and picked out their baggage out of the wagon and laid it down there and got their picks and shovels. Went to work right now.
Is that right?
And built that road, finished that road clear up to where their mill is now. And took those packs, that was their food and their bed.
Yeah.
Took them along, and when night come, where there was water, they made a camp.
And they built the road as they went
built
along.
the road as they went. And then they had to get their sawmill. They had to move a sawmill from way up on the Russian River. What is the name of that place? It's all set out in prune orchards now.
Is that right? Up Santa Rosa, up that way?
No, further east.
Further east. No.
Geyserville.
Oh, Geyserville, yes.
Geyserville. That's where they came from.
What were their names?
Huh?
Were they all Peckinpahs?
All Peckinpahs. There were 7 of these big...
7 brothers, or were they
7
cousins?
brothers, 7 brothers.
7 brothers.
Yeah, of course, later on, relatives began to come in, and they were just kind of a clan of their own, you know.
Yeah.
But Charlie Peckinpah, Mortimer and David and Lincoln's father, he was the youngest. He was the youngest, but he was the business head. And he liked a lot of fun. He liked to play the violin and have dances. So as soon as they got around to it, they built a house and put in a floor for them. They'd give dances. We'd always go up there, hook up 4 horses.
You go way up there for a dance.
Dance all night. And now there's another recollection. I can go way back. I couldn't have been 5 then. But the next morning after this dance, of course, I'd been asleep most of the night. I was a baby and I'd been asleep. But we went down a ways from where we were from the hall, and old David Peckinpah was the bull driver. They logged with bulls.
Yeah.
And whether he just put on a show or whether he was really going to work. Whether he worked, but I can remember Dave Peckinpah dragging in a log from way across the meadow. You could hear that man holler for 2 miles any day. He had a regular voice. He was a born bull driver.
Yeah.
I can remember that man hollering and wondering what he hollered about. Pretty soon they come in sight with these two yoke of oxen.
Yeah.
Dragging this log. And their nephew, from the name of Warren Fowler, you just couldn't have been, he must have been a very young man then, was his swamper. He come along behind the log with an axe, you know. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was more than 75 years, or 76 or 77 years ago.
Yeah. And that's just clear in your mind now.
Yeah, those bulls, I felt awful sorry for them because my father had range bulls here, and gee whiz, I thought that was terrible, put those big heavy wooden things on them and make them pull logs, you know.
Yeah.
I knew my father wouldn't treat his stuff like that.
But that's the power they had in those days.
Yeah, that's the only way they had.
Oh.
Finally, one of them died. One of the bulls died. Well, I guess Peckinpahs had very little money, and so they bought one from a man by the name of John Hearn that lived where that Bass Lake Schoolhouse is now.
Yes.
Where that way up ahead of the airport.
Yes.
they bought a range bull from him and had to trade him lumber for it, of course. Well, to catch this bull and break him, and that was something else. So Dave took us, his 3 bulls he had. I don't know how he got the extra yoke down there, but he took his bulls down there, and Hearn had this bull in a corral, and of course he had to stay all night, big trip, and Paul's Mill, Crane Valley.
Yeah.
Crane Valley then,
Then,
it was
yeah.
Crane Valley. And Paul was in the corral, and next morning he went out and chopped down a yellow pine tree, log, or maybe 2 foot through to stump, and cut off the end of it with his axe. Got his bulls all together and got the yokes on them. This wild bull put the yoke on him, hooked them all up and took off. And when he got to the middle of it, the time that bull pulled that log up that mountain, he broke.
Oh, broke him just like that.
Yeah, that's the way he broke him. He was just a wild bull off in the range.
For goodness.
That man was certainly an artist at that. Afterwards, after the bull team days was gone, why he drove mule team.
Yeah.
He was a policeman in the early days when San Francisco first was a town, just a town.
Exactly. In the early gold rush days.
Yeah,
huh?
old Dave Peckinpah was a policeman. He was big enough to be a policeman, too.
Is that right?
Big man.
Uh-huh. Oh,
They were good people.
a
Those
good family.
Peckinpahs were good people and still are.
Yes.
They didn't run out of stock.
No. Well, I wonder where they came from originally, back east.
Missouri, I think.
From Missouri.
Missouri. I think that was their home state.
Yes, it's an unusual name.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I don't think I've ever heard it anywhere else.
I don't think I have either.
It must have been Indian, huh?
Do you suppose it could have been?
It could have been. They were all dark complected. All the Peckinpahs were dark complected.
Uh-huh.
I never heard them say that there was any Indian blood in them, and they weren't people that would be ashamed of it.
Oh, no, of course not.
But I imagine it must have been an Indian name.
From one of the tribes back east,
Yeah.
probably.
Mhm.
Yes, could have been. I should think. Well, I've often thought of that, all I know about it. I've been up to the mill, up where the mill was, and know that this is Peckinpah Mountain, but about them, I've known very little.
The young Peckinpahs, all the Peckinpahs that were left, had a sort of a reunion up there here 3 or 4 years
Oh,
ago.
did they? Up at the meadow?
Up at the meadow. If I'd known about it, I'd like to went. I'd like to show them where I seen their Uncle Dave dragging that log.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
the meadow was soft where they had to drag him, so they had to put in poles, what they call a skid road. They'd lay
Yeah.
poles crossways and then drag the log over those poles.
Yeah.
And pulled easier on those poles did the dirt
Mhm.
too.
Oh, right. Well, there must have been a lot of timber there from the size of that
Oh,
sawdust
That
pile.
was a fine body of timber. That was just a fine body of timber.
There's still some stumps up there,
Yeah.
here and there, that you can
Yeah.
see how big
Yeah.
the trees were. Did you ever meet this Mr. White that lived up at
Yeah.
White's Meadow?
Yes, yes. I was going to be a forest ranger one time,
Ah.
and that was the first summer that Stuart Edward is here. And our headquarters was at Ellis Meadow, and White made him a camp there. He had his wife camp there
Yeah.
for quite a little while.
Uh-huh.
And afterwards he moved up to where the sage mill is. I don't suppose you know.
Yes, I've been there.
You've been there?
Yeah.
That was all gone, and the mill had burned up, but there's some cabins there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while he was there, he took a great hand to saddle up and ride over the country, both of them. He found this other cabin. Now, that was Edgar. That was Dave Peckinpah's timber claim cabin, where he built that, where he fixed it up and,
Yeah.
and lived there. It was all falling down, just a rough, made of rough lumber. He found this, and it looked so nice to him, way off there by itself, that he moved right over there. And next spring, he hired a carpenter and fixed it up, and that was the Stuart Edward White cabin.
I have his book called The Cabin.
You have?
I have a copy of it. I own
Yeah,
it.
I never have seen it.
Haven't you? Well, next time I come, I'll bring it and read some of it to you if you'd like that.
I wish you would.
I really would like to, because he certainly caught the feeling of the mountains.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He was a natural mountaineer, you know. He loved that life.
Yes. Uh-huh. Well, I don't want to get you too tired today.
Oh, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. Yes, you are. Maybe you're tired listening to me.
Oh, no, I never get tired of listening to these stories. Do you know, you want to tell some other things that happened on Whiskey Creek here? We know that it's been used...
You want to know how it got its name?
Yes, how did it get its name?
Well, as I was telling you, Fred Vischer, Jane's father, had this saloon up here, and there was two men that were prospecting, and they had a camp on the other side of Whiskey Creek. They had to go up, wait, 2 miles north of here. There was a trail across there, and a footlog. And these men had kind of spent the day with Fred Vischer, and was pretty well ginned up.
Yeah.
And they bought a bottle of whiskey to take back to their camp. And one night, across the Whiskey Creek, the bottle of whiskey slipped out of one of them's coat pocket and fell down on the rocks and broke. Well, of course, they had to have whiskey, and the next day they went back and told Fred they broke the whiskey. So Fred named it Whiskey Creek.
It didn't have a name before that.
Never had a name, it was just a creek.
I see. Well, that's how it got its name. Well, for goodness sake. I suppose Brown's Creek and Brown's Meadow were named from the first lumber people, were they?
No.
Not Brown and
Brown's Meadow. Do you know Herrick Brown?
Herrick, no.
He lived down about Zebra, west of O'Neill's. His father got the name from his father.
Oh,
He had, one year he took hogs up there. He thought hogs would, there was lots of acorn, lots of black oak trees.
Yes.
And hogs like water, and that great big meadow there, and who hogs would root. And they did do fine.
Uh-huh.
But how he ever kept them, how he ever got out with any of them, I wonder about.
How did he get them up there? Did he carry them? He drove them up.
Of course, he had to have help. He had to
Yeah.
have help. Help wasn't very expensive in those days. You get a man to work for a month for $10 for feed him little beans. And,
But hogs aren't easy to drive.
no, they're not easy to drive.
Ah, but that's where that got from Herrick Brown.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So it
Herrick Brown's father, old Billy Brown.
that's a beautiful creek up there,
Oh,
that Brown's Creek.
Yes, yes.
I've been up in this country. Well, so Whiskey Creek has been used for irrigating, and it's been used for gold mining,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
the man who started Cascadel, wasn't there a man who raised garden up there? And
Well, the first man that went to Cascadel, it wasn't called Cascadel there.
no,
A man by the name of Strivens. He
yeah,
had quite a big family. He moved up there. He went up there, and I don't know whether he ever proved out on it or not, or what he ever done there. He lived there, of course, then. Why, that was I guess, that's in the early 80s. That was in the early 80s because one of his daughters told me that I was a baby when she first knew me, that I was just a baby, wasn't walking around much yet.
is there?
And then the next man who came there was named Chapin, J.E. Chapin. He was a fine man and a man that was well educated, but he wasn't a businessman or a rancher or anything. What he was an office man, that's all he
yeah.
was. And he lived there for many years, set out the orchard. He was the man who first set out the apple trees
Oh,
there.
I see.
And he irrigated there and raised a lot of stuff, but he never had any money.
Uh-huh.
Always broke and always had a lot of fellows hanging around, if he owed them $15, they'd stay there and eat off him for a year.
Very different way of living.
Yeah, it's very different, very different.
Well, at that apple orchard, there's still some good apples up there.
There used to be lovely apples on that place.
Of course, many of them now have been taken out.
Yes.
There's so many houses up there.
They don't pay attention to the apples anymore. Well, since Chapin left, it just went to ruin. Nobody ever took care of them. Chapin was the first road supervisor that this district had after the county was divided. Madera County was divided from Fresno County.
I see.
And Chapin was our supervisor here.
I see. Then did he leave up here and go to the valley?
Oh yeah, he lived here, and would go down once a month.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't stay in session only 1 or 2 days in those times. No, there wasn't no business to do anyway.
Yeah.
Just go down and get their money, get their check. But he was the man that improved the roads wonderfully. He built practically a new road from the Johnny Walker place to North Fork.
Oh.
They were just an old wagon road twisted around. It went left North Fork and went up the hill there by Les Smith's place and his orchard.
Yeah.
And zigzagged all the way out and through that country.
Oh.
And come back in about where the county shed is out there.
I see. Is there still signs of that old road up
Oh,
there?
yes.
I'll have to try to go up there.
There's lots of sign of it.
Uh-huh.
Take off right that Les Smith's, you can see the old road, especially where it's been graded, pretty high bank.
Mm. Until he was responsible for getting the new
Yeah,
road put
yeah.
in. It looks like they're going to change the road coming into North Fork.
Yes,
I noticed
they're going to make quite a change there. I suppose it'd be better, but I wish they'd leave it alone.
Oh, I do too. The people will go so fast, they'll just
Yes.
right through, I think, sometimes. Oh, well, this has been very, very interesting for you to talk to me, and I hope you'll let me come again.
I will. You
I
like
don't
to kind of question me.